The beautiful thing about a royalty is you don't experience the cost inflation. I love the EBITDA margin of a royalty company, mate. EBITDA, $219 million or 96% EBITDA margin. When I think of Deterra, the company, the big knock on them is that they haven't done a deal yet. When Deterra listed, there was a bit of a buzz in the Aussie mining community that Deterra would be a financier of new projects and they'd help get more mines into production, by providing capital in exchange for royalties over assets that are otherwise, pretty tough to finance. And it's been nearly 3 years and they still haven't done a deal.
G'day, money miners. Tuesday, 15th of August, ripping through the year. Me and Ricciardo are here delivering the mining news while JD is gallivanting over in Melbourne.
He's very fond of the East Coast over there, mate.
He is a Melbourne sort of guy.
What do you mean by that?
He's probably got one of those skateboards, those Melbourne type skateboards they roam around in.
They're all about the scooters over there, mate. I'm speaking from experience.
Chai lattes.
Oh no, it's you can't order a long Mac topped up. I'll tell you that.
So big. He had an interview yesterday, didn't he? We got a bit of a prelude.
Interview. You say that like it's a job interview, like he's leaving the money and mines. It's not a job interview. He's been interviewing fund managers for
fund inquiry.
He has indeed. Yeah, he's been talking to some fund managers over there, and we're pretty excited to bring that content to the listeners. I think yesterday he sat down with Emmanuel Dat. We're going to play.
Oh, the Dat's a 180B, absolute GC of money of miners.
Yeah, he came on. I mean, Daddy came on for a stock specific episode that we did on WA1, and he added some really valuable insight. But he's got much broader views than just that one stock, and JD brings that to life in the episode coming tomorrow. So pretty excited to play that one for the money miners.
Word on the decline too that JD was shitting himself trying to set it all up by himself because we first time he hasn't had me and Trav helping him out.
Yeah, usually I fuck up the recording or audio in some way, shape or form. So I'm glad JD struggled on this one.
Yeah, I'm just perfect. So
you got 4 years on us. So
this is true. Righto, Trav. A few random yarns today.
Yep. We're talking about Delta. They had the crossing yesterday. We've got Azure to talk about. They responded to the media speculation.
2 days in a row.
I want to have a chat about Deterra as well, where they came out with their full year results, and we haven't really talked about them before, but they're a big important company in the West Australian mining space. So keen to talk about them as well.
And have you also got a public service announcement for Gascoyne?
There is a bit of a public service announcement at the end as well.
Very fair.
And I've got a special treat for you at the end, mate.
Oh, yes, love it. Righto, today we're really honing in on the partnerships in the exploration drilling scene of mining, aren't we, Trav?
We are.
Anytime Exploration and Topdrill, our great partners of the show.
Yeah.
Anytime are the foundation sponsors, Seamus Murphy. And maybe we could link Anytime and Topdrill together. Bit of a mutually beneficial arrangement for our partners. So,
they probably know each other already.
Well, let's separate. So Anytime, they're the people and the core cutting and a bit of machinery. Mm-hmm. And then you've got Topdrill, who absolutely hosted one of the best sundowners I've ever been to. Very flash and very, what's the word? Philanthropic.
They did raise some money for
raised
Royal
a lot of money,
Doctor.
well over nearly $250,000 for RFDS. So much congratulations and thanks to both Angela and Tim Topham.
Good on you guys.
Get into it. Keep those rigs spinning, because if the rigs don't spin, we've got nothing to talk about. There's essentially no ore anywhere if you don't find it.
I was talking to a mate last night, and he's from the oil and gas world, and he's like, mate, why is there way less news from the oil and gas world than there is the mining world? I was like, mate, you know how expensive it is to drill a hole in oil and gas? It's so expensive. The news flow is so
Aircore's $25 a metre.
Is it? We try drilling underwater. That's bloody hard work.
I think drilling through the water's pretty easy, but once you get to the dirt, a bit hard. Right, let's get into it, Trav. Delta. So Delta Lithium, previous red dirt. Now, we're not going to advise anyone to sell their house for this one.
Oh, geez, no, please don't.
Flatto might. Now, so let's go through a bit of a sequence of events. They went down significantly on the day they had their diggers presentation. We did speak about that, but then there was another big uplift back yesterday. So uplift today.
Uplift today,
But then
yeah.
there was a massive, what would you say, a cross trade at the end of the day yesterday. 60 million shares in Delta were traded, which is 11% of the company, at 92.5 cents per share, which was at a 23% premium to the last trade price. So it was pretty much where they were sitting sort of before they had the big drop.
Not quite. I think they're still
I think they
a
were
little
back
bit
in
off.
their 80s,
You're right. It was a big crossed line of shares, and this sort of can happen after market. You need to tee up the line of shares, and in this case, it was 60 million shares. So I tried to figure out who's actually selling the shares, right? Because until a few days roll out, you're left trying to decipher this stuff yourself. And you look at who's on the register there at Delta. At the top there is Idemitsu. You kind of put a line through them because they just picked up their shares. So you wouldn't imagine they're bloody in a rush to sell them. And then you look at there's Waratah Capital there with 10.2%. But Waratah Capital, according to their last substantial notice lodged on the platform, they only had 53.7 million shares. So I look at that. The line was 60 million shares. My best guesstimate, Matty, is that it's Waratah Capital selling, but the brokers have also strung together a few more bundles with 1 or 2 or 3 high net worths who are also keen to transact at a premium. And collectively, they've put together Waratah Capital with some high net worths and have rounded up to 60 million shares.
Yep.
So that's on the sell side, right? Who's selling it? That's our best guess. On the buy side, Matty, there's a bit of word on the decline floating around the circles.
I like how you say that now. You're doing well. So proud.
And let's just keep in mind that Flano is well publicised that both Mineral Resources and Hancock, aka Gina, are on Delta's register. And in this case, the word on the decline, according to some reported sources out there, is that it's Mineral Resources who've been on the buy side of this one.
As a Bell Potter nominee, which is common for them.
Yeah. So we heard that it was Bell Potter brokers sort of, that were part of that line. And it's well known that Bell Potter do transact for MinRes.
How's the Twitter sphere going for speculation out there, Trav? Be getting a bit of airtime, is it?
Yeah. I don't know why, but a few of the Lithium guys tag me in so much stuff. Some of it's funny.
But you're a prominent figure now.
Yeah, it is quite funny. But the tweets that I loved seeing this one were just, there are some tweets that just kind of highlight the block trade, and then a couple of people have retweeted these just saying big and very good.
God, there's no sympathy on the world of Twitter, is there?
Yeah, kudos to the Twitter sphere out there. Very funny.
Have we even put our finger on why there was such a massive drop on that day of their Diggers presentation?
I've got no idea. I just think there's a style of marketing that is polarizing to certain people, and some people look at marketing that we talk about Flano's marketing as having character and all that sort of stuff, and I think we can decipher the signal from the noise when he speaks. But I do think there is some institutions out there that look at a style of marketing and think it's unsophisticated or and whatnot, and so people are keen to sell into that event. I still can't fathom the fact that just a presentation could influence a share price so much. I don't know. I still can't accept that as a reality. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong, but there was broader Lithium sell off at the same time, so I don't think you can say it was all. It was all the Prezzo. At the same time, a lot of the Lithium developers were selling off too. So
I reckon that's why I'll never be an MD, Trav, because I'll probably do shit like that too. I think it was funny. Right, Azure, back on Azure. God, bloody Big T comes on and drinks a few pints with us and gets absolute massive amounts of publicity non-stop. So good work, Big T.
Big photo of him in the AFR today.
Yeah, the big pose. You can tell where Alex gets his good looks from, Folks, what's going on? So they've responded to the media speculation.
That's right. They were in trading halt yesterday, and today they come out with a one-page response basically confirming that they did receive an offer from SQM at $2.31 per share. They mentioned that this offer was conditional on FIRB and conditional on DD, and they ultimately knocked it back, without doing anything further. What I see in this announcement, this up note, is that they've appointed Barrenjoey on defence, and I kind of look backwards now and just deduce the timeline a little bit. And I kind of think, how they came out with that exploration target?
100 to 250 million tonne?
Yep, at 1 to 1.5%. I kind of see that announcement of an exploration target. You don't really see too many announcements of exploration targets. It's a pretty, you just don't come across too much of that.
It's about as close as they can get to saying this is what we're probably going to get.
Yeah, I see that announcement now with the benefit of hindsight as in some ways a defence strategy. Like they're adding more information to the market to with the aim of becoming more appropriately valued to help fend off an opportunistic bid, and at the same time maybe invite others to take a look by giving them more guidance on what they think the scale is. So, you can interpret it however you look. It's an exploration target, and there's certain disclosures around that.
100 to 240, I said 250, sorry. So it's 100 to 240 million tonne.
Yeah, that stock, the stock's up 14% today now that they're out of halt, but they're still, beneath the diggers low. So, the diggers high that they reached, which was $2.96.
Pretty impressive. They're getting offers like this without even a mineral resource. It's a maiden mineral resource. That's
it's pretty remarkable in the context of just mining M&A. You don't see this sort of stuff very often, and I think it's just very symptomatic of the commodity and the time right now. So yeah, I think if you go back in time throughout history, I'd love to see a list of $1 billion plus deals that transacted or offers that were made pre-announcement of a resource. But there's a few sort of things like this floating about now, and it's just, I guess, symptomatic of the time.
I want to. Maybe we should put a little graph up of tracking of project status of Azure versus Patriot. Patriot are ahead at the moment. They've got their mineral resource out, but look at Azure's location. And very close to a port in that Pilbara region. Yeah, get a few cyclones, but no snow. Be interesting to see how quick this project develops in contrast to a North American project.
Yeah. The two will get compared to each other for a long time, I suspect, and maybe Delta's sort of thrown amongst the peer group as well, given they're less. They got a lower valuation, but they're getting some attention at a similar point in time and some similar corporate interest too.
Still big and very good, but Trav. So funny. Mate, Deterra. Now, Deterra, what an enigma of a massive stock in Australia.
They're a big company, mate. Yeah,
big company,
yeah.
For one reason and one reason only, essentially.
They're a royalty company, right? I'd call them the only royalty company on the ASX, really. I think there might be another tiny one, but it's the only material royalty company on the ASX. And Deterra, it came about via a demerger undertaken by Aluka back in 2020. Deterra's cornerstone asset, which I also think of as their only asset.
Their only royalty. Well, there's royalty company that has one royalty.
They've got some other royalties,
but
do they? They're just insignificant. You can just put a line through them, really. So this is the only asset that matters.
Okay.
Is a royalty over BHP's mining area C, or MAC, it's sometimes called too. So that's Deterra, and today they come out with their full year results. I'm just gonna run off what the headlines are in the full year results. Revenue, $229 million. I love the EBITDA margin of a royalty company, mate. EBITDA, $219 million, or 96% EBITDA margin. And then they distribute 100% of NPAT via fully franked dividend.
I suppose you got to pay for there's a few letters to send out, and obviously the wages and internet and all that. But that's it's pretty similar to a podcast business, isn't it? It's pretty low capital burn running a royalty company.
Oh, royalty, mate. Royalty is a bloody amazing business. You put your feet up, you collect the check. What do you have to do?
Go to golf days. At the golf day I was at the other day, there was a fella from Deterra there.
Oh, geez, we're on the decline.
Oh, mate. They're looking around.
Yeah. Today, I think when I think of Deterra, the company, the big knock on them is that they haven't done a deal yet. And what do I mean by this, Matty?
In a few years, eh?
Yeah.
3 years they've been around.
When Deterra listed, there was a bit of a buzz in the Aussie mining community that Deterra would be a financier of new projects and they'd help get more mines into production, by providing capital in exchange for royalties over assets that are otherwise, pretty tough to finance. And it's been nearly 3 years and they still haven't done a deal. So I look
it's not like there's a shortage of companies that want some fucking capital in exchange for a royalty.
Yeah. The royalty financing model is a lot more popular in North America. And to some extent, that's because their equity markets are not as forthcoming as our equity markets are to provide equity. So you see a lot more royalty financing happening in the North American space. But I read Deterra's investor presentation that went out today along with their half-year results, and there's definitely some messaging in that investor presentation that I think is aiming to address that criticism that I mentioned. The first one is you can read that they've upsized their undrawn credit facility to $500 million. So, potentially trying to signal that they're ready to do a deal when one comes about. And then there are 2 slides that speak specifically to doing a deal. Slide 11, the bottom right corner of the slide, investment criteria. And they basically highlight considering creating new royalties and also acquiring existing royalties. So there's the 2 different criteria that they have when they're considering investments. Keep in mind they haven't done a deal yet, but they are open to acquiring royalties or initiating one. Slide 12, this is the interesting one, right? They reassure us that they are looking at more opportunities than ever. In FY23, they evaluated double the opportunities that they looked at in FY22 and triple what they looked at in FY21. And what's more, they tell us that they're investing in additional team capacity in FY24 to look at even more opportunities, Matty.
Oh, geez. They might be into double-figure opportunities soon.
I know. Got to look at
1, 2, 4, 8.
Got to look at even more opportunities not to do another deal. I'm not quite sure what the takeaway here is with Deterra. Like if you want exposure to a dividend paying iron ore royalty over BHP's MAC, then it's the stock for you.
Why would you invest into Terra right now? You're pretty much getting leverage to the iron ore price. Like it's an iron ore play effectively at the moment.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about a royalty is you don't experience the cost inflation. Yep. You're only exposed to production.
So it's like a bloody term deposit at the moment. It's like a way to invest. It's a pretty safe bet. They're not going to be raising money or diluting, really. You'd think so anytime soon. It's sure bet dividend.
It does pay. It pays a healthy dividend, and it's a fully franked dividend, and that's part of the the appeal of it. And I think if you're worried about cost inflation, and people have rightfully been pretty worried about that, it's amazing protection against the cost inflation. It's a more pure way to play the commodity and production volume sort of game, but that's not quite what was told to the investor community when this company was spun out of Deterra. Like if you're sort of betting that Deterra are going to build a royalty portfolio like some of the peers in the royalty world, I wouldn't be persuaded of that given it's been 3 years and they haven't done that. They seem pretty content with their portfolio of one real asset, and maybe, Matty, that's okay, right?
So if they were going to invest in another or provide a royalty to another company, at the moment you said they distribute 100% of their net profit after tax. Mm-hmm. So to allocate capital to another company in exchange for another royalty, they would have to then stop releasing that dividend to have that capital, because they wouldn't go into debt. Would they? They could. Yeah, they've got a debt facility available, and because they've got cash flow certainty, they can absolutely finance something like this with debt. So they could still maintain their dividend payout
They've got flexibility on that distribution piece. They don't have to pay out 100% of NPAT via dividends, but they have been.
Because if they provided a royalty, let's just say they provided a royalty capital in exchange for a royalty to an upcoming. Let's pull one out of the air, Osgold. Like, say
Yeah.
they funded Osgold.
Well, they wouldn't go there because it's got to be meaningful for Deterra. They describe their bite sizes between $100 and $300 million royalty. So like,
okay, so
and they're going to look for long mine life. They're not going to look for something with just a 8 to 10 year mine life. They're looking long term.
Okay, let's say there's a company that fits that criteria in Australia, Greenfields exploration play. They've got a mineral resource out. They then would have to wait possibly 5+ years to get their first bit of cash back from the royalty from first production.
Absolutely. Keep in mind, they're not limited to do a deal by writing a new deal to finance a project. They can also acquire other royalties as well. So there are other ways you can do deals as well.
And what's the benefit of them doing that?
Well, you become more diversified. I think as a royalty company, the appeal is sometimes that you get diversified exposure to a commodity without the cost dynamics. In this case, it's not really diversified exposure because it's all tied to the one asset. What if there's a rainfall event or something at that one asset? It's not like you're still impacted. So they do have the opportunity to diversify away some of the asset specific risk.
Do you think BHP would ever want to buy that royalty back off them?
Potentially. I mean, I'm sure they've probably thought about it. Who knows, right? There's a plethora of options for BHP to allocate their capital.
God, I love all these new words I learned from you now that I'm engaged with good eye contact with you, Trav. Good work, mate.
I've got a couple more takeaways, Matty. I just think the MAC royalty is such a behemoth that it's tricky for Deterra to do any deal that really moves the dial for them. And it's that large base effect dynamic because this is such a valuable royalty. Any deal that Deterra does realistically is going to be have a very minor impact to these numbers that are reported in the annual report. So there's that element. I think if you read management's commentary throughout time, they're quick to point to their discipline. They also point to the cyclicality of deploying capital in this industry. And it appears that they're conscious of not wanting to be pro-cyclical with their capital deployment. They want to be counter-cyclical. And they're both valid points to make. The trouble for Deterra, though, is they're just pretty boring until they do a deal.
But God, you look at what they've pretty much brought $50 million of cash in the door each quarter, effectively, 200 million net profit after tax.
Yeah.
Bringing in $50 million cash a quarter. They're smoking most of the gold miners that are putting all the hard work in, and they're just absolutely raking it in.
Yeah, royalties are an awesome business. I'd love to own a royalty. I mean,
I like that one.
I know. It's it's a great one.
Money and mine royalties.
Yeah.
It's got me thinking.
It does. It's an interesting one. Yeah.
Righto. Trav, Gascoyne.
Yes.
Jeez, we're doing a lot of double whammies, but look, if the news is there, we will report on it.
Yeah, we are. Well, I think this is a public service announcement to the Gascoyne shareholders. Ding,
couple
ding,
of
ding.
mixed reviews on yesterday's one.
Yeah, which I appreciate. I like it. Ding, ding, ding. The Money Mine team has exposure to Gascoyne. So,
shout out to Peter Cook. Loved his response on LinkedIn.
That was a funny comment, wasn't it?
Yeah, what a GC of the show. Cheers, Cookie.
If you listen to my rant yesterday, Matty, and you want to exercise your right as a shareholder, just keep in mind that you need to get your vote by proxy in by 10 a.m. tomorrow. That's 10 a.m. Perth time, Wednesday. The easiest way to do that is by clicking the link in the notice of meeting, which in their latest ASX announcement, that's where you'll find that link. I always put the link on a screenshot on the screen now for the YouTube viewers. That meeting will be held on Friday, but unless you intend on rocking up in person, you better submit your vote using that link before 10 a.m. tomorrow.
You could get a job with one of those proxy whisperers. That's what was the big fella's name? The Irish fella.
The Irish guy was Brendan.
Brendan. Shout out to Brendan. Oh, mate, I'll never forget him. Absolutely. Love the bloke. Mate, Trav, if the podcast goes to shit, Brendan, can you give Trav a job? Proxy Whisperer.
Maybe we'll get one of the Proxy Whisperers to sponsor the show.
Yeah. Hey, we're open up there. Just the way you said that in a very Proxy Whisperish tone then, Trav.
Yeah.
Good work,
I reckon our podcast can have a bigger impact than them phoning up people one by one.
We're about to find out.
Yeah, I hope so. One more thing, Matty. I had a bit of mail come in, and it's a mail for you specifically. It's a song, and I'm going to play just a snippet of it.
God, what is with everyone writing me poems and songs?
This money miner didn't write it. They just said, play this for Matty. I think it speaks to him. I don't understand some of the lyrics, but maybe Matty will. And according to some copyright laws I read on the internet once, we're allowed to play a snippet, just not too much. So if you're ready for it, Matty, I'm gonna.
Is it Chris the bloke Franklin? Nah, righto.
Driving on a desert highway, road train passed me by. I lost my life with a woman. She left me like that way. She the gypsy woman. Oh, she's so pretty. Nobody knows that she queen of underground.
The queen of underground, mate.
Queen of underground.
So thank you to that money miner.
Cheers to the money miners.
Yeah.
Glad you're all thinking of me. A lot of GCs today.
You are the queen of underground, mate.
Queen of underground. God, not anymore. I'm losing my underground knowledge and presence. I'm a bloody, no good these days. Right, Trav. Love your work, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks to all the partners, the Money of Mine partners. God, we're up to 5 now. I've got to remember me bloody... use me fingers for this. Terra Capital, Anytime Exploration, JP Search, Topdrill, and K-Drill.
Thank you very
bloody
much,
legends. Cheers to all yous. The bloody screen is covered in sponsors. Love a good partner of the show.
Cheers, guys. Hooroo.
Hooroo, money miners.
The information contained in this episode of Money of Mine is of general nature only and does not take into account the objectives, financial situation or needs of any particular person. Before making any investment decision, you should consult with your financial advisor and consider how appropriate the advice is to your objectives, financial situation and needs.